and a very warm welcome to you all. I am Vikas Nangia with Focus Live Season 3. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest today on the program is renowned film critic, biographer, a leading journalist. She's been doing journalism for the past over 4 decades now. She's authored 16 books. Her 17th book, Letters to Mother, is much in news. My guest today on the program is Padma Shri Bhavna Somaiya. Bhavna ji, thank you so very much for joining us in Focus Live. Absolutely pleasure and looking forward to a lovely conversation with you. It kind of seems like as in it was just yesterday that I had you as a guest right here in our TV Asia studios where I'm anchoring the show from. पर देखिए वक्त किस रफ्तार से तेजी से भागता है. But really looking forward, and you look as dynamic as you looked in person.
मुझे भी बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है आपसे बात करके, और जब मैंने पहली बार आपसे बात की थी तो मुझे बिल्कुल नहीं लगा कि आप कोई स्ट्रेंजर हो. And I remember you being so enchanted because when I said that I want to keep Dilip Kumar in my cupboard.
Yeah, listen, at least I fall into the same fraternity where you come from. You're much senior. You've seen much more in life, in person. You've known these celebrities. So we'll try to get as much as possible from you in this conversation as well. But first and foremost, let me congratulate you for this lovely book, a fabulous book, which is much in news these days, Letters to Mother. Talk about the book, you know, what this book is all about. It has an image of Narendra Modi, and I understand it's a translation of a Gujarati book in English done by you. Talk about that.
So when the Prime Minister was just an RSS worker, in the year 1986, he was in the habit of writing a diary. So he would write a diary every night, and then every 6 months he would make a bonfire and burn his diary pages. One day, while he was in the process of burning the diary, a friend of his dropped by home and said, "What are you doing?" And he snatched away the diary pages from him, and he said, "The fact that you have written this, you must not destroy it, and you must respect your creativity." That pages somehow reached a Gujarati publisher. I mean, he heard about it, and then he pestered Mr. Modi to allow him to publish it as a book. At that time, Narendra Modi was the Chief Minister of Gujarat in the year 2004. I was attending this book release. I was in the audience, watching him on stage, and never in my wildest imagination, I had thought that someday I was going to translate this book. I have a writer friend who is familiar with a book that I translated in 2008 on Lord Krishna. So he called me one day and said, "What are you translating these days?" And I said, "Nothing." So he said, "Why don't you translate a Prime Minister's book?" And I said, "No, I'm not qualified for it, and I don't want to do it. It's a lot of hard work." But he pestered me and pestered me till I got this book, and I told myself, I'm just going to try it. I won't tell anybody that I'm doing it. And if it turns out fine, it's fine. And otherwise, I'll forget that I even tried it. So it was a very tough read and a tough process to do, because translating is very difficult.
Yes.
You see, when I'm writing, I'm a master of my creation. But when I'm translating, I am being a parent to my creation as well as to my subject's creation. And that's a dual responsibility and a dual effort. So it was very tough, and I'm surprised it got done. And today it is in the form of a book.
So would you say that it was not you who approached for writing the book? You were rather approached to write this book?
I was not approached.
Okay.
I found my muse and I did it. And I decided that, okay, now this is the best I can do. And I informed them.
Yeah. You know, when I was doing my bit of research about Letters to Mother, this book, what I realized was a lot of places it was written as political book. How could it be a political book? You know, it's something about, yes, Narendra Modi is a political leader, now a global leader. But I don't think the book is all about politics. It's about his personal letters to Jagat Janani, what I understand he is referring to. So calling it as a political book won't be apt.
I don't think it is described as a political book anywhere. I don't know where you found this.
You know,
Maybe
when I googled and I wrote letters to Mother Narendra Modi, and then there was another two words that came up as political book. I'm like, no, this is not a political book. So that's where I thought I'll ask this question to you and get your reaction.
in fact, it's a very emotional, extremely intense book. And what gripped me or attracted me to translate this book is the emotional quotient of the book.
Yeah.
He feels very strongly and he expresses very strongly. He is not worried about being judged by anybody. He's laying himself bare. He's laying his emotions bare. And he's so transparent in his feelings that it's fabulous, because this is not about the chief minister. This is not about the prime minister. This is about a common man, an ordinary man like you and me, who has dreams for India, who is idealistic and who is extremely positive and feels he wants to do so much for his countrymen.
Yeah.
So he talks about time, he talks about nature, he talks about the universe, he talks about mother, he talks about poverty and wanting to take it away from the country. There are so many topics he talks about. And I'm surprised at how deeply connected he is to nature. His observation is so acute and his suffering is so intense. I mean, he deciphers between the stream and the lake and the lake and the river and the river and the sea. He talks about voyagers passing by and taking shade beneath the tree. You know, sometimes you feel that, does he overthink?
Yeah.
And why does he observe so much? Why does he suffer so much?
Yeah. I definitely, as the conversation progresses, I'm going to talk about, you know, his transition from RSS worker, from a party worker to chief minister to prime minister. And, you know, the book that he has, the letters that he had written, actually, they were early on from his career. But I first want to talk about your career. I find this very diverse kind of writing, you know, someone who's written first about 13 books on Bollywood, on Indian film industry, then 2 books on Krishna, a devotional aspect comes in over here. Then this one comes as on Narendra Modi. What a range here we see in your writing and thought process. Talk about that part.
See, I think the book on Lord Krishna came into my life out of the blue. I heard an audiobook and I loved it so much that I approached the author and I said I would like to translate. After that, 2 years later, I wrote another book on Lord Krishna and called it Keshava. Lord Krishna is such an arresting God that every man, woman, breathing, living thing that comes into his life believes that he or she is the most important thing in the God's life. So whether it's the women, whether it's Draupadi, Radha, or his mother, Yashoda, and later on my book Keshava talks about everything connected to Keshava that is not a human, but it is breathing. For example, the peacock feather, the basuri, the tulsi, the kamdhenu guy, the kamal flower. So there are these 8 wonders who talk about their obsession for Lord Krishna. This book, I owe it to my writer friend who hammered and badgered my head till I agreed to translate. And even I'm surprised that I did it. I don't think I can say that I did it, because I feel things happen in your life. You don't choose it. It just kind of takes a course. One of political journalists interviewed me and she said, "Are you not scared after writing this book?" So I said, "About what?" And she said that, "Don't you think that you might be panned by all the political journalists? Because people who don't like Modi will say that, why is she doing this book?" So I said, "No, because everybody knows that my identification is of a film critic. And I don't know anything about the politics. I don't write about politics. For me, he's just a man who has written letters to his Jagat Janani, and I translate it, and for me it's over. For example, a lot of people ask me, why is he feeling so intensely? Why is he writing so intensely? So I said, I would like to know, but I don't know. Because, for example, if it was a book on Bachchan, then I know that in 1986, what was happening in his career and life.
Yeah.
But I don't know what was happening in Modi's life in 1986.
So is this a pure translation of the writings of the letters, or there's an added element, of Bhavna Sumaya as well in this book?
I will not call it a translation because it's not a literal translation. Okay. You cannot do a literal translation and do justice. It is a transcreation. But the whole idea is to not lose the essence of his writing and his soul. Gujarati language is very different from English.
Yeah.
For that matter, every regional language is very different from English.
Yes.
All the other language writing is very elaborative. But English is such a fine language that there are very specific, appropriate words for explaining everything. So it becomes a précis. And I first translated just about 7 letters. And I sent it across. Rather, I gave it to him when he was passing Mumbai, and the PM office had fixed up an appointment with me. And I said, I have attempted something. Have a look at it, because if it's not ringing true in your head, then there's no point, which means I'm not getting the meter right.
Correct.
So the choice should be yours, whether you are feeling comfortable about it. So he just smiled and he said, why did you choose this book? I said, because it's very emotional. And there is a lot of pain and suffering and a lot of optimism and positivity in it. And there are, he writes very imaginatively. He draws beautiful imageries. I'm very attracted to that because he paints pictures with his words. I found that very attractive. So he just smiled, and then I got a word from him that it's fine.
Yeah. जब आप उसको ट्रांसलेट कर रहे थे इंग्लिश में, आपने क्या पाया कि नरेंद्र मोदी जी का उस वक्त का माइंडसेट क्या था? अब हम बात कर रहे हैं उनके शुरुआत के फेज की, जब वो आरएसएस वर्कर थे। उस वक्त उन्होंने किताब लिखी, घर से निकल जाना और फिर किताब को लिखना और अपनी चिट्ठियों को लिखना, लेटर्स को लिखना और उसके अंदर अपने मन के भाव रखने। क्या माइंडसेट था उनका उस वक्त?
मेरे हिसाब से जब ये साल, ये पूरा 1986 के साल का है, तो उस साल में तो वो आरएसएस वर्कर थे, क्योंकि वो वहाँ शिविर की भी बात करते हैं जहाँ दूसरे पार्टी वर्कर्स भी आते हैं और किस तरह से सब साथी और सहयोगी मिलकर काम करते हैं। तो मुझे उनकी राइटिंग में एक खोज, एक बहुत ही आइडियलिस्टिक दुनिया बनाने का सपना नजर आता है और एक डायरेक्ट कम्युनिकेशन, कनेक्ट जगत जननी के साथ, और ये माता जी पर एक पूरा विश्वास कि कुछ भी हो जाए, कितना भी अंधेरा क्यों ना हो, वो उनका हाथ पकड़ के उनको उस अंधेरे से निकालेगी। और एक सबमिशन, जो वर्ड सबमिशन होता है, ये एक इवॉल्वमेंट के बाद ही आ सकता है
जी।
बहुत आसानी से हम सबमिट नहीं कर पाते जब तक हम उस मैच्योरिटी तक पहुंचते नहीं है। तो मुझे उनमें वो भी नजर आता है, मुझे उनमें सेंसिटिविटी है, बहुत बारीकी से अपने आसपास के लोग, थॉट प्रोसेसेस को देखने का नजरिया है। मैं ये समझती हूँ कि हर कोई इंडियन जो सोचता है कि मेरा प्राइम मिनिस्टर कैसा इंसान है, उनको ये किताब खरीदनी चाहिए, क्योंकि वो कैसा इंसान है वो हम और आप जैसा इंसान है। वो किस बात में बारे में सोचता है वो हम भी नहीं सोचते हैं।
एक छोटा सा ब्रेक लेते हैं। बात इमोशनल एस्पेक्ट की आपने करी। हमारे कुछ व्यूअर्स हैं जिन्होंने आपके लिए कुछ वीडियो क्वेश्चंस भेजे हैं रिलेटेड टू दिस बुक and specifically talking about emotional aspect. I'll take those questions on the other side of the break, but for now, we'll take a quick short break over here and be right back after these messages. ब्रेक के बाद फोकस लाइव सीजन 3 में आप सभी दर्शकों का एक बार फिर से स्वागत। दिलचस्प मजेदार बातचीत हो रही है भावना सुमाया जी से। उनकी नई किताब लेटर्स टू मदर पर चर्चा हो रही है। भावना जी, कार्यक्रम में आपका एक बार फिर से स्वागत। Here in this segment, in the very beginning, allow me to take this video question that we received from Romy Jaiswal from Oxford, Mississippi. Take a listen.
Hello Bhavna ji, you've been a film critic for almost 40 years. And been writing about films, stars, and you have written 12 books so far, and now the letters to mother. So my question to you was actually, what was the emotion you had to go through while translating those letters? And do you think you were able to depict the same emotions of a son to mother while translating it? Your overall personality judgment of Mr. Modi through those letters. So please kindly let us have your feedback. Thank you.
This is my 17th book, not my 13th book. That is just a small correction.
Yeah.
And I was very deeply moved by the letters he writes to the Mother Goddess. And it was not an easy translation at all. I had to often stop because I could not contain his suffering and his introspection and his constant churning within himself, and it was affecting me. And I was very certain that since it was an emotion that had drawn me to the book, I did not want to lose it at all. Now, I am born into a Gujarati family, but I'm not educated in Gujarati. But my parents believe in the pride of the mother tongue, so they have taught me at home, but I'm not well versed with it. As a result, I first rushed through the first translation like a good journalist, finishing it off. And then I went again in the second draft, line by line. And in the third draft, I went word by word. And then I had kept a standby friend who is educated in Gujarati. I would read it to her on the phone to see if I was catching the nuance of every word. And she was also very strict with me, and I would get exhausted and she'll say, no, you can do better. And when the final book was ready, I read the whole book to her on the phone. So it was taking its toll on me. And when I would get very exhausted, I would keep the diary aside and I would switch on the TV to watch the news. And while I'd be watching the news, Mr. Modi would be going from left to the right and right to the left frame, making a speech here and delivering something else there, walking fast. And I would say, what is happening? Whole day I'm struggling with the book, and here is this man moving left to right. Is this the man, or is this the man, or are they both the same? Right. So I went through a lot, but I did not give up.
How much time it really took you to put this book together? You mentioned about second draft. How many drafts you really had to write? And also, what's more important for me to understand your starting point and the creative process throughout the process of writing, because that's very important, because I'm sure there were certain things that you wanted to make sure that you don't miss them at all. They're very, very important for this book. And then there would be certain aspects where you must have felt that, okay, you know what, this I can easily ignore. That's okay if I don't bring that up now. Earlier, when it was written in Gujarati, it was something different. But now that I'm writing it in English, it's okay, because when you write it in English, it's also for an international market as well. So talk about that aspect.
I would say there were many drafts. but they were very quick drafts
Hmm.
because it's not a very thick book. It's a not. So I think this is my slimmest.
It's a reasonable sized pages are there in this book. Yeah,
I would say this is my slimmest book out of the 17 books.
I was about to say that.
Yeah, but I was at it all the time, and I would say that by the fourth draft, I got the hang of his writing. And then I didn't want to leave it because now he was getting into my veins. So, a writer knows when he or she does not leave the manuscript alone.
Yeah.
All writers are possessed. Even in my own original writing, I write like a maniac. I write without a bladder break. I write without a lunch break. And I write till I go mad. But with this, I think it was the fine tuning and the final strokes and giving beauteous words was the challenge.
Yeah.
And I would say I have dropped out nothing. Everything is there, except certain syntaxes takes a longer time to express it and project it in the language, in a foreign language.
Yeah. Allow me to ask this, that, when he had written these letters, as you've been saying repeatedly, he was just an ordinary worker in RSS and Bharatiya Janata Party. Now, when you are translating and putting this book together, he's the prime minister. What was your mindset? I'm not talking about his mindset now. I'm talking about your mindset, that you're translating the book of the man, the global leader, the prime minister of India, or your mindset was also that I'm translating a book of the then RSS worker?
It's a very good question. I think the pressure would have been there if this was a commission book from the publisher or from the prime minister. It was not a commission book from anybody. I was doing it on my own. And I really did not have any pressure. I was not thinking about the prime minister at all. And I was not thinking about the man either. The man was unfolding himself to me all the time. I was thinking of the RSS worker. And in fact, it gave me an idea how the RSS workers probably work so hard. And you have to feel strongly to become an actor. You have to dream of cinema the whole day to become an actor or a director. Similarly, you have to feel for your country to want to join a party, to want to give yourself to that cause. So I was only thinking of myself, that I want to finish it and I want to do a good job. And if I'm not satisfied with what I've done, I'm not telling anybody I've done the book. Simple.
The emotions are also throughout these letters. The sense I get is that it's all about activism. Activism to eradicate poverty, the activism to love nature, activism to talk about education, activism for love and affection for people. It's activism at the end of the day. Talk about that part.
I think he is feeling it and he's putting it all on paper, and he is not worried about how he's coming across. He's not worried about being judged, and he's not worried about becoming so transparent. Because most of us are, when we get emotional, we hide our emotions, we disguise our emotions, and we definitely don't document it. Now, maybe he was lighting the bonfire of his expressions earlier, but once his wiser and older friend told him that you must respect your expression, he let it be and he submitted to the Gujarati publisher. And after that, to even get it documented after you are in such a powerful position, I think it is fantastic. And my takeaway from the book is that writing letters is a phenomenal exercise. It's a wonderful expression which we are all forgetting in the world of text messages and emails, and we must go back to it. And we must not worry that, it is not the best language or the best expression. Like he says that he's writing to his mother goddess, and he's not decorating his writing because publishing is not on his agenda.
Right.
He says, I don't care whether this is prose or whether this is poetry, because mother understands the emotion I'm communicating. It does not matter whether it's prose, poetry, between the two or something else. And the best thing is that I express today what I feel today, and I will express tomorrow what I feel tomorrow. This person is also real, and that person is also going to be real. You cannot expect this person to feel and think the same way that I am going to think and feel after a few years. It's to me a high level maturity.
Yeah. You mentioned about prose and poetry. जब कभी एक व्यक्ति इस तरह की लेटर्स लिख रहा है, मन के भाव व्यक्त कर रहा है, तो उसमें कई बार संवाद होता है, और संवाद भी कुछ ऐसा जो एक तरफा होता है, क्योंकि जगत जननी से तो जवाब नहीं मिल रहा ना, जगत जननी को तो मन के भाव संवाद की तरह प्रस्तुत कर रहे हैं. उस इमोशन को, उस भाव को आपने अपने किताब में किस तरह से व्यक्त किया है?
मैंने ठीक उसी तरह से एक्सप्रेस किया है जैसे उन्होंने एक्सप्रेस किया है. मेरा रोल इतना ही है कि मैं निमित्त बनकर उनके विचारों को एक अलग भाषा में पेश करूं. मगर एक नजाकत आ ही जाती है, क्योंकि मैं लड़की हूँ, वो लड़के हैं, और भाषा अलग है, रिदम अलग है, मीटर अलग है, थोड़ा सा उम्र में फर्क है. तो जितना शिद्दत से, जितनी ऑनेस्टी से, जितनी सिंसियरिटी से ये ब्रिज बन सकता था, मैंने बांधा है.
जी. एक और छोटा सा ब्रेक लेते हैं. ब्रेक के उस पार कुछ और व्यूअर्स के सवाल और थोड़ा समय आपसे प्रतिक्रिया और रिएक्शन जरूर चाहूंगा कि जो आजकल बॉलीवुड का बदलता स्वरूप है उस पर भी, क्योंकि you've been an integral part of the Indian film industry and you've kept a close eye on how the films are made, and the lifestyle of the actors in front of the camera and behind the scene as well. So it's important for me to get that reaction from you. Viewers, you stay tuned, and Bhavna ji, you be with us. We'll be right back after these messages. Bhavna ji, thank you so very much. Having some wonderful conversation with you about your latest book, Letters to Mother. Allow me to take this yet another video question. This is from Dr. Adappa Prasad. He is the newly elected president of Overseas Friends of Bharatiya Janata Party, USA. As a matter of fact, this is his yet another term to be as president. He was president a few years ago as well. But has been an integral part of OFBJP USA for many, many years. Take a listen.
Narendra Bhai Modi ji. We call him with love and respect simply Modi ji. He's a person of deep thinking, as you all know, and thinking about Mother India since his very early age, its people, its progress. We all know he is born as a common man, but he is born as a common man with deep thinking and philosophical bent of mind. And probably that led him to go to forests and mountains at a very young age in search of true knowledge. And that's why one should not wonder if we learn that he used to write to Mother Jagat Janani and share his thoughts. This is really an extraordinary mind with divine blessings. Otherwise, who would think of writing letters to Mother Goddess? That means he saw himself as a child of Mother Goddess and tried to share his innermost thoughts with Jagat Janani, Mother Goddess. I just want to give you one incident. When he visited New York after he got elected for the first time in 2014, and he was attending UN General Assembly session. And that was the time when Madison Square Garden event also took place. And it was a Dasara time period, and he was fasting. and he was a really fasting on a very strict religious basis, and he used to take only hot water with lemon, nothing else. But still, he kept up a busy schedule both in New York and DC. Even at White House, he didn't eat anything. He gets that innermost energy from his purity of mind. His mind is very pure, and that devotion to Mother Goddess probably, Mother Goddess is showing him the path to take India to its rightful place in the Comity of Nations, and that's why he works day and night without any holiday or vacation or anything. Constantly is working for taking Bharat to its glorious height and take its rightful place.
आपने मोदी साहब की बात की, आप तो उनको मेरे से ज़्यादा जानते हो, मगर जो आपने बताया वो नवरात्रि का इंसिडेंट, जब वो सिर्फ पानी पीते हैं, तो ये बहुत सारे ऐसे किस्से कहानियां मैंने भी सुने हैं, क्योंकि मेरा पूरा परिवार अहमदाबाद में रहता है और मैं बहुत अहमदाबाद आती जाती रहती हूँ। गांधीनगर में भी हमारे परिवार के लोग हैं। तो जब वो चीफ मिनिस्टर थे तब अहमदाबाद जब भी मैं जाती थी, और अहमदाबाद में ज्यादातर सब बंगले में रहते हैं, 3 जनरेशन साथ में रहते हैं, सबको उनके किस्से कहानियां नवरात्रि के टाइम का पता होता है। तो उन्होंने कहा कि सब जो है ये मोदी साहब 10 दिन तक सिर्फ पानी पीते हैं, बिल्कुल खाना नहीं खाते हैं। तो दिस इज ऑल अबाउट डिवाइन बॉन्डिंग विद द गॉडेस। इट्स ऑल वेरी मूविंग एंड इट्स ऑल अबाउट फेथ। तो मैं समझती हूँ कि उनका ये संवाद, जैसे आपने भी पहले पूछा था, कि उनका ये कम्युनिकेशन विद द गॉडेस, वन लेवल कम्युनिकेशन और वन पॉइंट कम्युनिकेशन, इट्स ऑलमोस्ट सररियल। और मेरा भी इसको ट्रांसलेट करना, इट्स ऑलमोस्ट लाइक अ डिवाइन ब्लेसिंग।
So there's a huge Gujarati diaspora spread across the globe, and this book, of course, I'm sure many of them are Modi fans, and I'm sure there is an element for them to connect through this book to their motherland, to a great leader of the nation. From that perspective, give us some sense that what are the connecting dots? What is it that non-resident Gujaratis would like and appreciate about this book, and they'll admire it the most?
I think their parents must have read the Gujarati book called Sakshi Bhav. And Sakshi Bhav is a very moving book because his Gujarati is very rich. He uses very high level vocabulary words, which for somebody like me is very difficult to comprehend and grasp and translate. So I think for the second generation, to understand what those letters are, this is a very easy one to read it in English and then probably communicate with the parents that what they get it about their prime minister. It is all right to be different from others. It is all right to feel very strongly. It is all right to express it on paper. It is all right if people are thinking, what kind of a communication is this which you can have with an almighty? But at least it is completely original, and it is not copied, borrowed from anywhere. And there is courage of conviction that this is me and this is the way I will communicate and this is the way I think, feel, and will probably change my country.
Yeah. You know, I also think that in addition to what you said, so the many first or second generation Gujaratis who actually migrated from India, they must have read the Gujarati version, and they must have read it, or they have a collection at their home of this book. But many who talk to their next generation, and those individuals who are not well informed in Gujarati language, I think this book in English will also bind them also to understand. So I won't be surprised that if in a house there's a Gujarati version and an English version as well, where a next generation individual is reading something, letters to mother.
I will use this opportunity and request all my viewers that please order your copy from Amazon. It's really catered to the common man. In Indian rupees, it's only 299. So I don't know how to calculate it in your currency.
Right.
But it's worth it.
I'm sure when they log into the Amazon US version, it will show the price in dollars in value. But more importantly, it has been published by HarperCollins, which is yet another fabulous publishing house. Bhavna ji, allow me to shift gears now to Bollywood. Something that we eat, breathe, live. This is a strong connection of ours with India. We see tremendous polarization in the film industry, and it's not just for one particular issue. It's now political, social, religious, all segments, all areas, we see the polarization in the industry. Things are changing, and nowadays fans are even also picking their favorite actors, not sure on their caliber. They're also picking on what religion they come from, who is the actor who's admired the most, or which politician the actor is following, or which political party the actor is following. So that kind of fan clubs have developed now. How do you foresee all this?
I'm feeling very sad because it was not like this earlier. The cinema fraternity was called the most secular place because it never mattered which community, which caste, which religion you belong to. You just got together in that one studio, and all you cared for was the passion of cinema. And you were all breathing movies. And for years and decades, every day when the unit collects together and before the first shot is taken, गणपति की तस्वीर रखी जाती है, एक नारियल तोड़ा जाता है, और सबको वो नारियल के टुकड़े शक्कर के साथ विजिटर जो होता है वो भी प्रसाद के तौर पे लेता है. कोई नहीं कहता है कि मैं मुसलमान हूँ, मैं हिंदू हूँ, मैं कैथोलिक हूँ, मैं नहीं ये प्रसाद लूंगा. सबको उतना ही डर लगता है रिलीज के पहले, और जब फिल्म हिट होती है तो सब उतनी ही खुशी से उसकी सिल्वर जुबली मनाते हैं. पता नहीं क्या हो गया है सडनली. And because people who are away, whether it's somebody like you in a different land, or these fans that you're talking about who are now choosing from the Instagram who they're going to follow or not follow, are making their own perceptions and building their own judgments on what is being fed to them by the TV anchors who are hammering a point that they want to hammer. And it is now gone so beyond that anybody who's trying to raise a voice is not being heard. I'll give you a small example. I released, it was a Friday flashback or Thursday throwback. I had put a picture of one of my old books released by Irfan Khan. And with him was Karan Johar. And there were so many in my Instagram notifications who said, oh, I will have to unfollow you because of Karan Johar. I mean, till yesterday, you were dying to see his movies and you were singing his songs. And who are you to unfollow me or tell me when I should put Karan Johar's picture or not put? So all this is making me angry. And nepotism, मेरे कान पक गए हैं सुनकर. I want to bring back the memories of Prithviraj Kapoor. He was the biggest theatre actor and the most powerful star on the screen. His three sons, whether it was Raj Kapoor, Shami Kapoor, Shashi Kapoor, nobody got it on the platter.
Yeah.
They all had to struggle. Raj Kapoor had gone to a director. When he could not give the clapboard right, he was slapped on the sets.
Yeah.
Shami Kapoor had to struggle. Shashi Kapoor had got married and not yet got a break. Nobody held his hand. And आज जो जितने ऊंचे स्वर में सब बात कर रहे हैं कि नेपोटिज्म है, जो बड़ा स्टार है आज वो है रणवीर सिंह. उसका कौन माँ बाप भाई बहन अंकल आंट स्टार है? कोई नहीं. Kangana Ranaut is a big star. Who does she have in the industry? Nobody.
Yeah.
So Ranbir Kapoor has everybody in the film fraternity. All his films are not doing well. But does anybody deny that he is a good actor? Does anybody deny that he's a spectacular star? Abhishek Bachchan is the son of Amitabh Bachchan. Who gave it to him on the platter? Nobody.
Yeah.
And even this whole drug story that they go on and on, I am here for 40 years. I have met for 4 decades, not just the actors, but filmmakers, technicians, musicians. I didn't see any drug addict ever anywhere unless I'm so dumb that I never made out.
Yeah.
I have been for so many parties. Maybe I have not stayed long. I've just shown my face and left. I never encountered anything that was an eyesore. Otherwise, somebody from my family would have not survived here. So these are, something has gone wrong. Nazar lag gayi hai. And a few months from now, when things are going to be all right, all these people who say to me and you, I will unfollow you, or you don't believe in this one, or you follow that one, so you will not be followed, they will be ashamed of themselves.
Yeah.
Stop judging is my thing. Please stop judging people.
We're going to take another short break over here. On the last segment, I want to talk about the changing trends, the new trends which are evolving in the Indian film industry, content-wise specifically, and the platforms where they are showcased these days. We'll talk about that. And also, we'll close the conversation with Letters to Mother. We'll be right back after these messages. Bhavnaji, thank you so very much. And this is our last segment of the conversation. Prior to the break, we switched our gaze from Letters to Mother to Bollywood. And I want to continue in this segment a bit about Bollywood. The changing trends that we see these days. The cinema is getting a little bit more realistic than just the glamorous feel that it had earlier. And it has found its own audience now in the smaller cities as well. There's a connectivity with content like Mirzapur and Sacred Games and all that stuff. But do you think that there's a lot which is all going in one direction and it's all getting cluttered too soon? What's your opinion?
Well, the theaters have opened up.
Yeah.
But people, I think, at least my age group is not going to the theaters. Because one is still scared of getting into an air-conditioned, closed place. As critics, we have been watching movies on the laptop or on the television for the last many months.
Yeah.
We are also seeing a lot of series on the OTT platform. There is a lot of content, and there is a lot of talk about the content. And everybody talks about binging. And everybody's very proud of binging and catching up with Mirzapur and Basaipur and whatever Poors and other things are happening. I personally cannot take these dark crime thrillers for too long. Also, there is a lot of abusive language and steamy scenes. Which makes you constantly having to juggle and judge what you should be watching with the family, what you should be watching alone because you're supposed to review stuff. I feel right now content is being celebrated without a thought process. What I have really enjoyed watching in recent times is Scam 1992.
Yes, on the Hansal Mehta. Yeah.
Because it's a superb biopic. It projects the Gujarati community in a very realistic way. There is no overdose of either steamy scenes or abusive language. And you get a glimpse of the man who was Harshad Mehta. There are many things available on the OTT platform. What is the plus of it is that you can watch it at your pace and time in your space. There are no rules to follow in the content. There is no rules in duration. There is Language is not a barrier. There is Tamil, Telugu also coming in. There is English, there is Hindi. So in a way, it's very evolved. But I think the exhibitors and the distributors are feeling very insecure that the OTT platform is ruling at the moment.
Yeah.
And they are requesting the film folks to not be in a hurry to release their movies on the small screen and to do it on the big screen. But right now, I think both is going to happen. By 2021, everybody's going to be having movies on the big screen.
You're a biographer as well. You've written books on, followed the journey of various stars. From the present generation actors, is there somebody in your mind that you'd like to write a book?
I'm interested in Hrithik Roshan. I like his persona. I like his mind. I feel I love his performances. He looks to me a very, very refined boy who's extremely sensitive and compassionate. He does not follow the rule and he's not dying to be a part of a herd. He's always standing apart and looking at the mela. In one of his interviews, he had once said, on his birthday, if he makes it a point to call up or meet a friend, a colleague with whom he has kind of had a tiff or fallen out or drifted. That is his way of connecting with himself. And when I told him that, when I met him, and he said, I had forgotten this, but today you reminded me and I'm going to do it again.
Yeah.
And among the girls, I don't want to do a biography just for the sake of doing a biography or because I know somebody very well. For example, Shabana Azmi is my friend. A lot of publishers ask me to do a book on her, but I know her too well. So I feel there is no mystery for me.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know the Prime Minister at all. So I was attracted to do the book.
Yeah. So you basically enjoy the part where you discover the personality of a artist. All right. Finally, as we wrap up this conversation, please go ahead.
I feel for a good biography, there has to be the relationship between the biographer and the subject should be not intimate. They must be little strange to each other and yet familiar with each other's work.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. There's a popular saying for Narendra Modi, Prime Minister, you can hate him, you can love him, but you cannot ignore him. So there are a lot of people who are for Modi, there are people who are against Modi. After this book came out, what is the feedback that you've received so far?
The book was released on his birthday, that is 17th September. So it's just been 2 months. The publishers seem to be happy with the way it is going. I have not got too many people coming to me and telling me things directly, but I do see feedback on my social media post, and it has all been positive. My family takes me completely for granted, and for them it is just one more book. So they just raised their eyebrows and said, oh, so this time it is Modi, and that's it. My friends have ordered their copies and are very encouraging. And I don't know. I have an attitude where I'm very, I cannot get overexcited or I cannot initiate too much of feedback from people. I underplay and let things happen for me.
Yeah. Who knows, in times to come, you translated the book from Gujarati to English, and there's somebody who envisions the whole process and sees that it could be a drama, a stage drama, or it could be a TV series, or it could be a film by itself. Who knows how things pan out. And it's one thing leads to another. So we're waiting for something good coming out of Letters to Mother from this book itself. Bhavna ji, it was lovely talking to you. As always, stay focused, stay blessed. Thank you so very much for talking to TV Asia.